Great. Well, as we come to sort of the last set of questions in our panel, Chioma, we wanted to turn to you and really to think about this theme on silencing the guns. This is really a priority, we know, for the African Union, something that we all see as just a fundamental precondition to allow some of the economic development to go forward. And I'd love to hear your thoughts before we open up for the Q&A. What is the most effective thing that we can do collectively to support arts, culture, and heritage to really promote African peace building and that shared objective of silencing the guns across the continent?
Thank you. Where I come from, it is said that if you want to take something away from someone, you better be giving them something else to do, right? More generally, we say that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So if we talk about silencing the guns, I have to ask the question, if youth are not going to be enticed with joining gangs and joining all of these militia groups, what else are they doing? Look at Nigeria, for instance. We have the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, standing at 10-point-something million in 2018. Of course, that number has been exacerbated by COVID-19 and the recent spate of kidnapping from schools. Over 600 schools in Nigeria's north, already having very high numbers of out-of-school children, have been shot because parents are afraid that their children will be kidnapped either for ransoms or they'll just be murdered. And so the question is, if we go 5 years from today, we have an entire generation of people without an education, without any skills, who are unable to fend for themselves, who are unable to fend for their families. They become willing tools. They become vulnerable to being recruited as militants, as terrorists, as insurgents, whatever name we want to call them. And so I think that silencing the guns starts from holding governments accountable from a national level. There's a lot of civil society organizations that are holding the government to account. But I think that there are conventions that countries sign up to, that the African Union must start to hold them accountable to. The United Nations must continue to hold them accountable to. USIP must hold them accountable to. Why are children not in school? Why is it not safe for girls to be in school? We have a raging sexual and gender-based violence problem, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent. Where are the answers to that? Where are the holistic, consistent and funded plans to roll back sexual and gender-based violence in schools, in primary schools, in secondary schools, even up to universities? And so for me, to start to think about silencing the guns, we have to think about that. The second chunk of work that we need to think about is, what do young people want to do? Right? There's a whole wave of cryptocurrency. There's a whole wave of entertainment. There's a whole wave of creativity that's just sweeping through the continent. And I completely, agree with Ms. Cook, where she talked about, during COVID-19, we all became, just hooked on some form of art or the other, right? But where is this art coming from? Who is supporting those forms of art? Who is ensuring that young people across the continent are able to compete with their peers across the globe? Where is that funding coming from? I think that it's been said a lot of times that the wealth in Africa is its people. The wealth in Nigeria is not our oil. The wealth in Nigeria is our people. So who is investing in young people? If you even look at civil society spaces, a lot of the funding that comes into civil society organizations, and I've had cause to really be honest with donors, is the fact that you're funding the older organizations. I had cause to speak to some people within the Spotlight Initiative, and I said to them, you're funding people in their 50s and 60s to solve sexual and gender-based violence problems for people aged 15 to 24 and younger. It's a completely new generation. We're not thinking about, the technological aspects of sexual and gender-based violence, because young people are on the internet, and there's several expressions of violence that go on online that the much older generation, and I know that, this is the place where intergenerational conversations come to play in, but there's a lot of things that are happening for and with young people that an entire generation is not aware of. And so you're programming based on what you used to know, but that's not where people are. People have moved away from there. And in the same way that we have great things that have been occasioned by technology, we have absolutely horrific things that are now being perpetrated via technological platforms that, are not getting any answers to. So silencing the guns for me means engaging young people, engaging them, productively, engaging them in ways that not only satisfies their pockets, but satisfies their minds. creating opportunities for them to gain like self-worth, right? A lot of times we do programming and we focus on people in cities already. They're not the ones who are giving machetes and guns and knives during elections to be violent. People in towns and cities who can travel, who can leave the country, who can take breaks, and not the ones who are, snatching ballot boxes. They're not the ones, running ethnic militia groups. And so we must, as a matter of urgency, prioritize conversations with them. And we must create situations where governments can be accountable to their people. If you look at Nigeria at the moment, if you look at Cameroon, if you look at Chad, you have growing pockets of discontentment, not only amongst youth, but amongst the citizen population, because the democracy that we're practicing, for some reason, is failing. Because why will you have each region in Nigeria, for instance, springing up its own militia group or springing up its own, club of dissidents or agitators? There's something fundamentally wrong.